Hi, you're listening to Childless and Moving Onward. This is the place where we talk about thriving in life when you're a woman who is childless, not by choice, regardless of the road that brought you to childlessness. Welcome to episode 29 of Childless and Moving Onward. Today's topic is childless, not less. Standing strong against invalidation of your pain. I'm your host, Gail Miller. I'm a life coach, a speaker, a physician, and I'm a woman who is childless by circumstance and not by choice. Today, I'm diving into a topic that so many of you who are also childless, not by choice, so many of you face this, and that is belittling of our grief, of our struggles, of our feelings. And sometimes, this is the kicker, sometimes it's even coming from other women who are childless. Yeah, you heard that right. So grab your favorite beverage because I'm about to unpack some heavy stuff. I'm probably going to annoy some, but I'm also going to try to sprinkle in some humor because we all need a little bit of relief from the pain. So imagine carrying a weight that's invisible to anybody else, but it crushes you daily. And that's what it feels like when you are childless, not by choice, but not just that. It's even worse when people belittle the pain and any feelings that come with involuntary childlessness. And just when you think it can't get any worse, you find that some of that belittling comes from other childless women. What? Yeah. So let's dive into some of the ways this happens, because who doesn't love a good cringe, especially as we get closer to Halloween? So this has come up many times, but most recently, someone left a comment on one of my podcast episodes about not believing that women feel the pain I had described in that episode that some women who are childless feel when it comes to Halloween. And she pointed out that she's childless too and doesn't feel that way. So I must be assuming things or made it up. But this is really what stopped me. She went further by blaming the pain that some women feel at this time, blaming it essentially on a bad attitude. Now, I'm not here to defend myself or the research that I do, but I want to address the part that had to do with essentially accusing those who have pain from this of having a bad attitude, looking at this in the wrong way, because it happens all the time. Not necessarily from other women who are childless, but that happens as well. And it happens more commonly than you may think. And so what happens so often is that you're treated as if you're to blame for seeing things in the wrong way, for feeling pain that you're feeling, or grieving for too long. With comments like, you need to get over it already. So let's talk about the Hall of Shame, those belittling comments, no matter who they come from. So here's just a few examples. It's not the end of the world. Really? Because it sure feels like it when your dreams of parenthood crumble. Well, thanks for that perspective, but your perspective is yours and mine is mine. Pain is pain, and no one has the right to belittle or minimize someone else's. And in my own experience and what clients have described to me in their experiences, some of these same folks in our lives that say things like this are the ones who will flip out if they're at a restaurant and the daily special is gone. Like, there's no more. We're out of it. Or if their favorite TV show is canceled. I mean, seriously. Now, this is not scientific. These are not tested statistics. These are just a collection of personal observations that often family, friends, colleagues will tell us that being childless isn't the end of the world. And these same people are often find things that seem a bit more trivial, things we've judged to be more trivial, to be the end of the world for them. Yet they minimize our experience. Again, not scientific data, but certainly interesting, amusing, and frustrating, to say the least. Another thing people will say, well, at least you don't have to deal with tantrums. Yeah, because tantrums totally outweigh the joys of raising a child. I mean, who wouldn't want to trade their peaceful evenings that are filled with the longing for a child and the empty feeling for a front row seat to a live action drama featuring a tiny human throwing a fit over broccoli? No, that comment of at least you don't have to deal with tantrums or kids are expensive. You wouldn't give up your child for anything in the world. And yet you're telling us, treating us, minimizing the pain, like, you've got it so much easier. Another common comment is, well, you can always adopt. Yeah, the adoption card. Because it's as simple as picking up groceries, right? Excuse me, can I get a pint of chocolate ice cream and one child, please? If only it worked that way. And then there is, well, maybe it's for the best. Seriously, nothing says I don't understand your pain quite like suggesting that the source of your deepest, deepest sorrow might actually be a good thing. Oh, you wanted kids? Well, think of all the money you'll save on diapers. Thanks for that financial advice, but I'll just invest in therapy or coaching or support groups. Thanks so much. And again, these same people would never give up their child or children so they could have more money in their lives. Now, this isn't a full list of the frankly stupid things that people will say, but you get the point. But here's the unexpected twist. When childless women, childless not by choice, belittle each other. There's the Pain Olympics. Well, at least you didn't go through multiple failed IVF treatments like I did. Yeah, because pain is a competition. Or the circumstance comparison. You're upset because you never met the right person. Try having a partner and still not being able to conceive. Apparently, there's a hierarchy in childlessness. There's the time factor. Oh, you're only 35. You still have time. Try being in your 40s. Okay, grief doesn't have an age limit. There isn't a certain age that you have to be to qualify for the childless club. And now getting back to another comment brought up before, but it's the topic of adoption when it's coming from another childless woman. Well, I've accepted that I'll never have biological children and I'm looking into adoption. Why aren't you? Because adoption is a deeply personal choice. It is not a consolation prize for everyone who can't have biological children. So why do some childless women belittle the pain of others in the same boat? Well, here's just a couple of reasons. And the first is they have their own unresolved grief. They may not even recognize it. But sometimes minimizing somebody else's pain is a way of coping with your own unresolved grief. It's a hard truth that some have to hurt others to deal with their own pain. Another reason is that for some, their identity has become so intertwined with their childlessness that they feel threatened by others who are processing their grief differently. Another difficult truth. The problem, though, in general, is that no matter where the belittlement is coming from, there's a ripple effect of it. When our pain is constantly dismissed or downplayed, it creates a domino effect. First, there's the emotional isolation. We start to feel like outsiders in a world of parents, like we just landed on Mars and everybody else is speaking fluent toddler. Dinner out with others who are parents turns to conversation almost always only about their kids, and we're left in silence. Even when we try to change the conversation, it fails a lot of the time because their focus in their lives are their kids, and that's what they want to talk about. And again, we're left in silence. And when the belittling comes from somebody who's supposed to get it, it's even more painful. It deepens that isolation because then it feels like, wow, we don't belong anywhere, not with parents, not even with other childless individuals. The second ripple effect is we then begin to question the right to grieve. Am I being overdramatic? Should I just get over it? Okay, spoiler alert. No one ever asks if somebody should get over losing a job or get over not getting the promotion they so wanted or losing in the bidding war for the perfect house. When it's from somebody else who is childless, though, it just adds to the invalidation of emotions. I mean, if even other childless women don't validate your feelings, you might start to question whether your grief, whether your feelings are legitimate. And then there's the unresolved trauma. When you don't or can't acknowledge the pain, it festers. It grows more painful. It looms larger. It's hard to ignore, which you shouldn't ignore the pain. That just makes it worse. And that turns into, it comes out in ways that are typically not in alignment with how you want to live your life. Maybe you become addicted to substances to numb that pain, or you're a shopaholic, you go into debt, you gamble too much and go into debt. Whatever it is, when you don't acknowledge it and that trauma is not resolved, it will come out in some other way, and usually not in a helpful way. It strains relationships. So oftentimes when people don't get it, we end up withdrawing from friends and family, and that causes more isolation. Of course, because there's nothing that says fun like spending time with people who make you feel worse. And when it's within the childless community, it creates a fractured community. That kind of behavior creates divisions within the childless community, and that's just weakening a support system that's already fragile. So how do you fight back? How do you navigate this? How do you fight for or self-advocate? How do you stand up for yourself in the face of this belittlement? So here's a few strategies that can work. The first is the broken record technique. Repeat a simple, firm statement like, "This is a significant loss for me, no matter how you see it." And hey, if you are somebody who is great at dramatic flair, go for it. The second is the educational approach. Sharing articles or resources about the impact of involuntary childlessness, because knowledge is power. And hey, if they still don't get it, at least you've armed yourself with facts. Now, I usually reserve this strategy for the people I think will be ones who will take it into consideration. Like they'll pay attention to it and be serious about it. For the people I know who are going to go into this determined to see things the way they want to see them, they're going into it with that idea that there's nothing wrong with belittling these feelings, that my feelings are wrong, that the feelings of women who are childless are wrong, that we don't have the right to grieve. If I know this is somebody who, like, I can't avoid in my life, but I know this is their mindset, I don't use this strategy. I mean, why waste time with attempts to teach empathy to someone who's not capable of it? Then there's the boundary setting strategy. It's okay to limit time with people who constantly belittle your feelings. Your mental health matters, and it matters more than trying to navigate awkward dinner party conversations. Your well-being matters more than their feelings, since they don't care about yours. Why do you have to make yourself smaller to avoid hurting someone who's hurting you? You don't. And another strategy is the support strategy. Have a support squad. Surround yourself with people who validate your feelings. Like finding your own personal Avengers team. And the support is out there. And yes, there are support groups. I have a support group. It's my circle of support. But there's lots of opportunities out there to be among other women who are childless and get the validation. Okay, so now this is a message to the people who belittle. Yeah, I'm going to call you out. If you've ever caught yourself minimizing somebody else's childlessness pain, here's a newsflash. Pain isn't a competition. Just because someone else might have it worse doesn't invalidate somebody's personal struggle. There are no medals for suffering. Now, there is respect that you can earn for having empathy, and lack of it speaks volumes about the person without it. Yep, I will call you out. The second is, different doesn't mean less. Just because somebody's path to childlessness is different from yours doesn't make their pain any less real. Your difficult journey doesn't invalidate somebody else's. There really is enough compassion to go around. The third is, your discomfort doesn't override their pain. If you are tempted to belittle someone because the topic makes you uncomfortable, that's a you problem, not ours. That message is for those of you who are out there who are childless and have been on the receiving end of this as well. Don't take on somebody else's discomfort as your responsibility for alleviating. If they are uncomfortable about the topic, about your pain of childlessness, that is on them. It's not your problem. Don't take that on. The fourth is, think before you speak. I mean, that should be a rule for everything. Would you say it's not the end of the world to someone who just lost their job? No. Don't say it to somebody who's childless. And the last, we're all in this together. The childless community is small enough without us turning on each other. So let's build each other up instead of tearing each other down. Okay, so what I really want you to remember is your pain is valid. Your grief is real. And anyone who tries to tell you otherwise, well, frankly, they can take several seats, preferably in an uncomfortable corner with no snacks. You're not alone in this journey. Your feelings matter. And you have every right to them, even if Aunt Libby thinks otherwise at Thanksgiving dinner. All right. Thanks for tuning in to Childless and Moving Onward. That's it for today. And until next week, please remember, never apologize for your feelings. I'm so glad you joined me. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you liked it, you can find more tips, insight, and support in a private space with other women who are like you, so they get you. You can do that by joining my free Facebook group, When Being Childless Isn't by Choice. Join us by clicking on the link in the show notes. You can also stay up to date with me on Instagram at Childless Path Onward and Facebook and YouTube at Path Onward. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.